Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Please like, subscribe to this channel, and share everywhere. Thank you. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers, author and teacher. I'm here with James. James, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you experienced?
Okay. Well, I don't know where to start. Well, I'm when I was 17, I didn't have a good childhood. I wouldn't say it was a bad childhood, but it wasn't a great childhood. My parents fought a lot, so there was a lot of arguing, a lot of domestic violence. Not really rough domestic violence, but enough when a kid, caused me to have emotional problems, physical problems. I was abused by my older brother physically, not sexually, but physically, really bad to the point where he pretty much tortured me. And when I was 17, I had a chance. I ran away from home because of a fight that my parents got into. And I drank a little bit up until then, but I never really got into the hard stuff. And when I was 17, I ran away from home to a buddy's house, and I turned 18 that next day, so nobody could really say anything. So I got into drugs and alcohol. I drank a lot. And, I was introduced to methamphetamine at the age of 17, and that pretty much changed. I had a ball scholarship up until I could have got a ball scholarship if I went to this camp. But instead of going to this camp, I went to Panama City, and that's what started it all. And I got into methamphetamine, which is a horrible drug. It's everywhere now, but back then it wasn't a lot. It wasn't around a lot. It was I'm 43 years old, so it wasn't around a lot. It was able to get, but because I live in the country and the farmers had it and stuff. So anyway, I got on that, and pretty much 26 years of my life, that's all I did. I started shooting methamphetamine at around 32 years old, so I've been shooting meth for a long time, and that was pretty much the downfall of everything. I wouldn't say I was able to control it till then, but I used it every day, but not like, I was functionable until then. And then when I started shooting dope, it just changed my whole life. I had met a girl. We started a family, and I started shooting dope, and it changed my life. It's for the worst. From that point on, I'd do anything to get it, and it was the love of my life, I'd say, because I love my kid's mother, and I love my kids, but when I say that drug came first, and so I was probably 37 the first time I had gotten sepsis. And sepsis is caused whenever you use a dirty needle. You give it to yourself. When you don't do it right, it causes a skin irritation, and you get bacteria in your blood, and it causes a blood poisoning. First time I went to the hospital with it, I had sepsis, pneumonia, endocarditis. Well, I got rid of that. I was in the hospital for about a year, got out. Between the age of 36 or 37 and the age 40, I had caught it 4 times. And the last time I caught it, I say caught because I gave it to myself. But the last time I got it, I went into the doctor, and I had the same doctor every time somehow. And when I was in Owensboro, Kentucky, and I was in the ER at first, and I went in, and what's crazy is I knew I had it because I knew the symptoms, and I knew what it caused and the effects of it. So I knew I had it. What's crazy is I stayed out of the hospital for a week trying to use drugs, trying to tell myself that I wasn't sick. And that caused me to go into septic shock. And septic shock, if anybody knows about that, it'll kill you. Anybody that ever goes into it usually don't come out of it. I had gone to the hospital because my kid's mother, she came to the hotel room where I was staying at, and she pretty much told me if I don't go to the hospital that I'm never going to see my kids again or her again. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have went. I would have talked myself out of it, and I would have died right there. But I went, and when I went into the hospital, I still remember it. I went in, and they had me on this little gurney or whatever, and the nurse came over and she took my temperature. And when she took my temperature, she called another doctor over there, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And she said, the doctor came over and she said, well, let's do it again. And I didn't know what they were talking about. And he said, she took my temperature. What she was doing, she's taking my temperature. And what it was so high that they couldn't figure out why it was so high. It was at 106.1 and rising was my temperature. And it was the highest recorded temperature and record at that hospital. And they say after 104, you start getting brain damage. So my temperature got so high, I was literally hallucinating. And I remember when I went into they got me up. Of course, I had to stay. I wasn't going home. They got me up to the floor, and I looked out the window, and it looked like a castle. And it looked like I was sitting on top of this thing, and I could look, and I was hallucinating. And I remember I looked around, and all I could see was, this is crazy. All I could see was there was demons around me. And I didn't know what was going on, because when you have a temperature that high, your body shuts down. And they were trying to cool me off and everything. And I knew the difference between a doctor and a nurse, and what I was seeing was something demonic. And I kept looking over, and the nurse kept saying, look, what are you looking at? And I said, there's somebody else in the room with me. And of course, she freaked out. She went and got the doctor, and the doctor came in. She goes, what are you talking about? I said, there's something in the room with me. And she said, the doctor said, well, it's probably the morphine. She said, well, we haven't got him on anything yet. So they couldn't figure out, they thought they blamed it on brain damage, but what I know now is that it wasn't brain damage. I had brain damage, but that's not what it was. It was something, I just felt off. I felt something, and I'm going to be blunt. When you're using meth, I think that drug is pure demonic. What you do and what you are susceptible to is you'll do anything, and it's just demonic. And I know what I saw was demons. And so I sit there for what I would say 6 months, and I would go back into septic shock. And when I did that, what would happen was I had a hole in my heart, and it was pumping blood outside into my chest cavity, and it wasn't going to the ventricle like it was supposed to. And what happened was it had an infection on it. Like if you get staph infection on your arm, there's a big, it's a big hole in your arm. Well, that's what I had on my heart. And I had pneumonia from sitting there, and I had my temperature they lowered it enough. It was still 103. But what would happen was that they would get my temperature down to around 99 to 100. And then 2 days later, it would shoot back up to 103, 104. So this would happen for about 6 months. Every 3 days, it would happen. Sorry, my screen went down. This would happen for about 3 days. And this went on for 6 months, about 6 months every day. And the doctor, they had me on so many antibiotics that I can't even name them all. I was on vancomycin. I was on everything. and they could not figure out why I wasn't getting better. And the doctor finally came in, and I remember this because my family was sitting in there, and I got done convulsing. That's what would happen. I'd convulse and shake. And what it was he said my organs were shutting down, and I guess what happens was your brain tells your body to, I don't know exactly what it is, but your blood pulls all to your organs, and it was causing me to. I had an infection in my arm, and I've got pictures of it on my phone, but I don't know if you want me to show you when I went into the hospital. But I look like death, and I'll see if I can pull them up if you can see them. But I had my arm had swelled up so bad that they almost had to amputate it. And it was just, let's see, I pulled up right to it. I don't know if you could see, it's not gonna let me see it. That's how, I don't know if you can see how bad I looked, but there's my arm. And it swelled up, and those lines are, they draw those lines on there because they want to see the swelling protrude and how far it's going up and it's going down, and that's what they had to do. But anyway, so they had to have somebody sitting in that room with me the whole time, because I'd come close to death like at least once a week. My body would shut down, and my blood pressure would bottom out and then top out, and then bottom out and top out. And they had to have somebody watch me all the time. And well, I remember they came in the room, and my family was in there, and the doctor was so blunt. I remember this doctor because he was so blunt, and he literally said, "Man, you're gonna die." He said, "You're gonna die. We can't do nothing about it." He said, I've tried every medicine that I know what." He said, "I've tried every medicine there is. The only other option is to ship you off to, I think it was either Nashville. I think it was Nashville. Ship you off to Nashville. They were going to life flight me to Nashville. And that's the only thing." And he said, "You're probably going to die." He said, "Yeah, I don't even know if you'll survive the flight, the helicopter ride." And I remember thinking, two thoughts went through my head. I hated myself so much. I didn't have love for myself. I hated myself because I think that's why I used. I did not have I had low self-esteem, and I hated myself, but I love my family. And I remember thinking, I don't want my family going through this. So I literally that night I had prayed. And this was I think I was in there for 7 months at the time, and 6 or 7 months. And I remember praying, and I've always been spiritual, and but I walked away from faith when I started using, and so that I hadn't been stepped in church, and that's a long story. But I walked out of the church whenever I was 17, 18 years old, and I never looked back. And I pushed my faith away. And so I started praying that night. And I remember when I started praying, I was they put me by the window, and I was facing the window. And I prayed, and I shut my eyes, and it was dark. And when I opened up my eyes, it was literally like the sun had came up over the horizon, and it shined through my window. And I remember thinking, wow, it was so crazy that it just happened. The sun happened to pop over the horizon as soon as I made that prayer. And I wasn't thinking nothing about it. And I remember as time went by, and I was like, of course, they made me comfortable, and they put me on. It was on hospice, but it wasn't like when you're on hospice, they don't come in. They didn't come in. It's like you're going on hospice. They don't want to freak you out. So they made me comfortable, had me on pain medicine, because that sepsis hurts, man. Your whole body is in pain. It feels like you're ran over by a truck every day, because it's a blood poisoning. So every cell in your body's hurting. So they made me comfortable, had me on Dilaudid and everything else. And I remember my kid's mom walked in and she goes, man, it's been 2 weeks and you haven't had, I didn't have one episode of my temperature went down. My temperature went down and never came back up. She said, you haven't had an episode in 2 weeks. And I thought, I haven't. And that was weird because I'd have one at least 2 or 3 times a week for 6 months. And so the doctor, I said, I told the nurse, I said, call the doctor in here. And she called the doctor. She goes, I want you to run tests again. He goes, I don't know if it's going to do any good. We've already ran all the tests we can do. And I said, just do it again, please. And he ran them again. And this was a day later. It was on a Tuesday. I don't remember the exact date, but it was on a Tuesday. And he said, I don't know how to tell you this, but all your tests come back negative. And this was two weeks later. And it tears me up because I think people don't understand the power of God. And I don't know. That's all how I can explain it. That I was dying. I was dead. I was sick looking. I had bones. My bone, like I said, they were about to amputate my arm. I just looked sicker than a dog. My pigment had went out in my skin. I was blue. I was losing hair. It's everything. And the picture, she said, I want you to look in the mirror. And I don't know if you can see the picture. This was 2 weeks after this picture I just showed you. 2 weeks after that, this is the picture that, let's see if I can see it. It's hard to see. It's hard to see because of the lighting. But that was 2 weeks after that other picture. That's how dramatic my body had shifted and changed. I had gained all the pigment back. It just looked, I was just night and day. And I like to say that was the end of my story, and I went back to faith, and that's all she wrote. That's not what happened.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near-death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near-death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near-death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs, a central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs, how the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times, evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon, available on Amazon.
God's funny like that. He there's no limit to his power, and that was just a piece of my story, because I guess he saved my life, and I know he saved my life, but the day I walked out, I got high again. And it was almost like God was showing me his power, but that didn't stop me. And the doctor said, man, you're going to die. You ain't going to make it till you're 40. He said, I was 39 or 30, almost about to turn 40. He said, you're not going to make it till you're 40 if you don't stop. And I was sitting in my house. I relapsed and I kept going. We broke up 3 years ago, and we haven't got back since, but I pushed my family away. I had lost everything. I was homeless, living out of my truck, getting high. And my stepdad had bought me a trailer, and I was living in my trailer getting high. And this is the funniest thing ever. And people don't understand how the power of God. I was watching TikTok, and I don't know if you know about algorithms and stuff, but I watched a certain thing on TikTok, and whenever you watch a certain thing, that's what content you're going to get is what you're watching. I wasn't watching nothing to do with Jesus, I promise you. I was watching pretty much pornography. And that's all I would watch was pornography 24/7. And the demonic power that came through this house, my kids weren't allowed to overhear anymore. I weren't allowed to see my kids. That's how bad I'd gotten. I'd gotten to shoot where I was shooting about a gram a day, enough to kill a horse. And I was going through about an 8-ball every 2 days. And I was watching TikTok, and I could not get away from Christian content. Every time I turned, there was something about Jesus and God and turn your life around. Everywhere I went, that's all it was. And that's all there was. I could not get away from it. I mean, I did not want to see that stuff. I did not want to see it. I wanted to see what I want to see. I want to see women and everything else. But I couldn't get away from it. So finally, I said, fine, I'll go to church. You know what I mean? I'll go back to church. I'll see what it is. So I walk in the church door, hiring a kite, and it was over here in Fort Branch where I live. Everybody's just looking at me funny because you could tell I was high. I mean, there was no hiding it. I was pouring sweat. And I walked in the back, sit on the back pew, and I started listening to music, and I could not stop tearing up. Crying. I mean, just stop. I couldn't breathe. And I had to leave. I left. I ran out of the church, and I was like, man, I can't. This is crazy, man. I can't even function. So I went home and kept doing what I was doing. And of course, all the content kept coming back on. And I said, fine, I'll go back. So I went back the next Sunday, and sure enough, it happened again. I started sweating. I started crying. I couldn't hold myself. And I finally gave in. I finally said, God, you just take it from me. I don't want it anymore. I get the point. I know I've failed you. I've walked away from you, and I don't want it anymore. And the next day I had watched, I don't know if you know who Russell Brunson is, but he's a big guy. He created ClickFunnels. I had gotten on there and went through this, they call it a free challenge. And I watched this challenge, and it's about building funnels and websites. And I got on there, and this guy came up, and he was one of the speakers, and he spoke right through me. And this was the next day after I went to church, and he spoke right through me, man. And he said, it's time for you're a 1%er. You need to start. You need to stop. You need to lay down your life and realize that and he spoke, I couldn't exactly what he told me, but he spoke right. I mean, he was speaking to me. He even said, grab the camera and bring it closer. And of course, he was talking to me. I knew it. And he said, and he was talking about how he created this big thing for men who have businesses and their marriage is falling apart and they're, on drugs and everything. He started this thing, and he told me, he said, I had to, when you look for Google and you look for what he needed, the problem that he had, he said, there wasn't an answer because there's no one ever been through that, what he's been through. And he spoke to me, and I knew what my purpose was. And that from that day on, I never used again. And that was like 3 years ago. I can't remember the exact date, but I wrote it down, but I never used again. And that's when I started. I started my first business, which was inhishands.us. And it didn't really do much. It's a coaching business for addicts and other people like me. But then I started another one called savagesocial.net, and that business it's digital marketing. I don't know a lot about digital marketing, but I got a team that does. And I was sitting there one night, and I thought, I've got this guy that helps me out, does my Facebook ads. He does my stuff. He gets on there. He said, "Man, you can't put two businesses together. They just won't work." And I thought, man, that's not, God's telling me otherwise. And I said, God, I don't know what you want me to do, but I need to do both of these. And that night I had a vision that what to do. And what my vision was to take business owners that are addicts, that are addicted to meth or whatever, and alcoholics, that their businesses are failing, and fix the whole problem, help them get off drugs, and then fix their business. Because I'm capable of doing both with my team and the coaching that I do. I put together a 5-point presentation that helped me get off drugs. That's what changed my life, is these 5 steps that I implemented. And that's what I'm creating now, is that 5-point presentation on that, and how to help businessmen get off drugs and get their businesses back together. But that's my dream, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get it taken off the ground. I've got, I got one client. I'm trying to get more, but that's what I'm doing, and I'm working on this thing slowly, and I'm trying to, and people don't believe in me. They think that I should keep doing that. Keeps doing that. People think that I should stop and do one thing at a time, and I keep telling them that's not what they don't think it's possible, because it's not been done before. And that's what the guy, the speaker, told me. He said, you're gonna have to create it, because it's never been done before. Nobody's ever created a program where he's coaching and digital marketing it all at once, and it looks impossible, and it's going to be hard, but it's what I'm going to do it. I'm going to achieve it. And I know I can do it. I know I can. I know it's going to take off, because I don't have any doubt that it's not. I don't allow myself to doubt anymore. I don't allow myself to have doubt, because doubt's a bad day for me. Doubt leads to a wrong thing. And I don't have any, God's completely taken methamphetamine from me, and drugs, alcohol, everything. He just took it from me. I don't know how to explain it. It's just that's how I know God's real, is because what he's done in my life. And I could tell you instances, that story after story, of what he's done in my life. One of the instances, I remember one time, when I first started shooting dope, I was got in a big fight with her, and I was I stole a car from the parking lot she was living in, and I was driving down the road about 100 miles an hour, and there was about a 20-minute drive from where I was to where I had to go. And she called me. She said, they done called the police. You need to do something. You're gonna get arrested for grand theft auto. And I remember thinking, if I could just turn this wheel, I was doing about 100 miles an hour, and if you could just turn this wheel real fast, you would run off the road, probably kill yourself. And at that moment, I looked up, and I said, God, help me. And I looked up. There was a hospital over to the left, and I drove to that hospital and got in, and I went and said, I need help. I'm about to kill myself. And I went to the hospital, and of course they didn't press charges on me. They knew what was going on, and God saved my life there again. And instance after instance, God's changed my life. And people always ask me, how do you know God's real? It's just because what he's done in my life. I can't explain it. How do you know the sky's blue? How do you know that your kids are yours? How do you know? You know what I mean? I just know. And so that's my story. And that's how I am become what I am now. And this was 26, 27 years ago. And like I said, they didn't tell me I'd make it to I was 40 and I'm 43 now. And I know I've got a long ways to go, God willing. So I'm just trying to make the best of my life and help everybody else along the way, because it's really, I want to do this for other men and women that it isn't about the money. Yeah, money helps because I don't have money. I got, laid off from my job, and I'm trying to get this thing up. It's more than that to me. It's more that it's a dream that I've had forever, to help other people. And I finally gotten to the point where I can help myself and love myself enough to help other people. And I know this thing works if I could just get it out there, and other people could experience what I've experienced. So
like when you were healed in the hospital, did you feel anything in your body? Did you feel different after you prayed for healing?
Man. Yeah. I can't explain the hurt, the pain that it's not just physical pain. It's the physical pain. I've always been able to deal with physical pain. I'm gonna tell you another story about how bad my addiction was in a minute after I get done telling you this. But the physical pain is so bad that where you can't. They had to have me on 4 cc's of Dilaudid, and I don't know if anybody knows what that is, how much that is, but that's a lot. Just to numb the pain. And then on top of the pain that you feel inside because you're dying, it's just an emptiness, and you're not ready to die. You're laying in a hospital bed knowing you're going to die at the age of 38, 39 years old, and you can't explain it. You're in hell, and you can't escape it because you're constantly in pain, and you're constantly mentally in pain, and your heart hurts. And the minute I prayed that prayer and the minute when I woke up, it was like, it's crazy because you think that something came over me that just wasn't. I just felt this peace. It was almost like God had showed me that I could die peacefully. I didn't know yet that He had healed me, but it was almost like when that sun came up over the horizon, I just felt peace. Like I was okay to go. I was okay to die. And I told my family it's going to be okay. They're going to be all right without me. And I wasn't hardly any good anyway. So, but that pain had went away, and they had taken me off. They had started taking me off all that stuff that's what led. It's crazy because that's what the doctors want to blame it on. They want to say, because they took me off, they were able to take me off all the antibiotics and stuff. And they said, well, because we took you off antibiotics, your body fought back. And that's why you got healed, was because they don't want to believe in that stuff. They told me that the reason though I was healed because my body fought back. I said, yeah, my body fought back, but the body doesn't heal itself in 2 weeks. It takes longer than that. And the peace that came over me after I had prayed that prayer, that it was just immensely, I felt loved. I felt just an inner peace that you couldn't explain. And of course, I stopped seeing. And what's crazy is people say, they always tell me, I always see all these stories of people going to heaven and seeing angels and stuff. Well, I didn't go to heaven. I wasn't going to go to heaven when I died. I wasn't there. I was going to hell. And that's what God showed me. I saw demons. And after that, I stopped seeing them. They blamed it on the medicine that I was on. They blamed it. They said that the reason why you were seeing stuff is because I had to learn how to walk and talk again. They said that because the brain damage I had suffered from all the amounts of methamphetamine I was using and the brain damage from the temperature being so high. I weren't walk and talk again. They said, well, that's why you were seeing things. I said, well, I was hallucination. I've hallucinated before, but I've never seen demons like that. I mean, they were around my bed. They were everywhere. So like that, all that went away. I didn't really see Jesus or nothing like that, but I saw the demons went away and I felt his presence. I felt peace like I've never felt before my whole life. Like I said, I hated myself. And after that moment, I felt loved again. And that really never left me. And that was hard to use for the next years. It was really hard to use because it was like, he never left my side, even though, and that's what's crazy about people think that God leaves them, that Jesus never leaves you. He's always there. And we pushed him away, but he's always there. And that feeling never left me. And that was what it was so hard to get high because I felt it's even crazier because whenever I was getting high the last time, I couldn't get high. And this is what they blamed it on. They said that I got high in a way. It's hard to explain. It's like you get my blood pressure shot up and I turned red and I got this weird feeling, but I couldn't get high. And I went to the doc and it was crazy because I have a guy that he's a doctor that I was friends with that that knew I was on drugs. And I said, why can't I get high? He said, what are you talking about? I said, I'll shoot methamphetamine and I can't get high. It's like God, he took it from me. He wasn't allowing me to get high anymore. He's like, you're going to put it through your body, but you're not going to get high anymore. And that's when I kind of had, that's when, sorry, my camera keeps going out. But it's like he told me he wasn't going to let me get high anymore. And I stopped getting high. And that's one of the reasons I quit because I realized God wasn't going to allow me to get high anymore. He'd had enough of it.
Well,
and when God, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you've ever seen like the old movie The Cross and the Switchblade, where the girl received Christ. She was a heroin addict, and then after she received Christ, she tried to shoot up one more time, but it just didn't do anything for her.
Yeah,
she never did from that point on.
That's exactly what it was. It was I could not get high. It was driving me nuts. I would do it, but it wasn't doing anything for me. And I was going to tell you one time, this is how bad I was. When I was probably 39, like 36, 37 years old. That's how bad I was. I took, I couldn't get pain pills. And that's what one of the things I used was pain pills. And so I literally took a sledgehammer. I had a buddy, and it really wasn't a buddy, but had him take a sledgehammer to my arm, break my wrist in 17 different places to get pain pills. And that's how bad I was, man. I was just a walking, talking monster. You didn't want to be around me. You didn't want to cross the street. I'm not saying I was scary. I just would probably take you for everything you was worth just because I had to have what I had. And I'd get every way I could get it. I'd get that drug. I'd find a way to get it no matter what. And the life that I live now is just so, I'm blessed beyond measure. I don't have a lot right now, but everything's taken care of, and I got my bills are paid and stuff like that, and I can function in life without worrying about where my next fix is and where I have to go out and worry about going to jail every weekend. I was arrested 46 times, and nobody wants to live that life, man. That's not good for nobody. And it's what's crazy is people don't wake up one day and say, I want to be a drug addict. It's not a choice. And the government tells you that there's something wrong with you, that you got a disease. And I don't believe that at all. And people ridicule me for it all the time and say, well, you can't go against the government. The government don't know crap. They don't know They've never been addicts. They're just telling you what their statistics are. I'm telling you right now, God took it from me that night and gave me a process to follow, and I did it, and I never looked back, and it changed my life. And
So you've been clean and sober for 3 years, haven't you?
yeah, I relapsed one time, but that was one of the things where that's why I said I don't let myself have bad days, because I had a really bad day and I relapsed, and it was just bad. Like everything came coming back, and I couldn't get high again. It's just weird. It was like I relapsed, but that's why I said God took it from me, because I wasn't high. I was just like, I'd done it, I'd felt it, but it wasn't. It was just the worst feeling in the world. Like it went on. I wouldn't say it's a relapse, because I went full blown. I lost my job and everything over it, and yeah, I relapsed, but I jumped back from that real quick, and yeah, I've been clean for a while, and this driven thing, I'm so driven now that I don't have time to want drugs anymore. This thing that I've got going with this business thing, it's like God gave me a reason to keep going. Like it's like He gave me a reason to wake up every morning, because I didn't ever have one before. I didn't have a reason to wake up. I didn't want to wake up. And God gave me that. When He gave me this idea, that the savagesocial.net, He gave me this idea and this dream to help other people. And I don't just help business owners with addiction. I help all types of people. But I've got a client that don't have a business, and I'm trying to start. Actually, I'm trying to get him to start a business. He's a really smart individual, and he's trying to. I'm working on starting a business with him, and but that's giving him excitement to keep going, because I tried to duplicate what I did and what God did for me in that 5-step program, and that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to duplicate exactly, and that's why I help business owners, because that's what helped me, was starting my own business. And it's new, and I haven't got a lot of clients, and I'm trying to get more, but I know God's going to provide that. So, yeah, my life's
What
changed.
is the 5-step process?
Well, it starts from 5 to 1, and the first step being you have to change your mind. You change the way you think, and I do and I implement things that I did and I do every morning, and I never stop doing them. I do them every day. I don't let myself stop. I do these things every morning, and I strengthen my mind. I'm writing a book. I'm writing a biography right now, and the guy that was telling me that's the 5th step, is start strengthen your mind, and you have to change your own mind, and that's what I said. And the second or the fourth is change your heart. You have to become somebody different. You have to start loving yourself, and you have to start loving other people. You can't be the butthead that you were before. You can't, because everybody in addiction is not themselves. Most people that I've met that are in addiction, they're really good people. They're just that drugs got them so messed up they can't function. So you got to change your heart. And I do charity work, and I do stuff like that to do that. And the third is to isolate from friends and family. And I don't mean withdraw. I mean isolate. I had to stop. I moved completely. I moved states. I had to get completely away from my state and everywhere that I knew and everybody that I knew in order to change my life. And some people, I understand not everybody can do that, but I did. And that's what helped me change my life was I moved, and I isolated myself because I didn't allow anybody, and I allowed myself time to love myself and learn to love myself. So I isolated myself and forced myself to be around me all the time and not. I learned, like I said, I learned to love myself. And the third step, or the second step, is that you have to be. I had to destroy the person that I was and become a completely different person. And I use the instance when a seed is planted in the ground, the seed has to die first before it's ever born. It has, and that's what happens. It breaks open and the seed's born, and it has sunlight and soil and everything else. And that's when the life begins, is when it breaks open. And well, I don't know what the exact term, I guess metamorphosis or whatever. Anyway, but the seed dies and then it's reborn and then it grows. And that's what you have to do. And that's the second step. And the number one step that you have to do, and I'm probably going to lose a lot of people for this, but you have to realize that there's a God, and you got to put him first, and you got to realize that there's a God, and you got to put him first, and your whole life will change after that. And like I said, I'll lose a lot of people for that, but I don't care. That's not what it's about. I believe God put us on this earth to spread his word. And I believe that our times that we're in right now are the worst times that we've ever faced and we're ever going to face. And they're only going to get worse. So that's one of my missions through my business, is to help grow his, following. So that's this program. It's a lot more in depth than that, but I haven't decided whether I'm doing it. There's what's called a free challenge. And then a challenge is what I want to do is to go through these steps one day at a time. One day I do the fifth step, and so on and so on. And this helps get them sober. If they can stick with me for 5 days, by that fifth day, most people, that's how long the drugs last, is 5 days. If you can get that out of your system in 5 days, you've made it. And that's one of the hardest parts, getting clean. So that's why I want to do I've had other people tell me I should record it and sell it as it is, but I don't think that's what God's leading me to do. I think he wants me to do the challenge thing, because like I said, one day at a time, and start this thing on a Monday and go to a Friday. And if they can make it through with me through that fifth day, man, that's the hardest part's that week right there. And after that, they have one-on-one coaching with me. And after we get the drug, start working on them and the drug part, because I'm going to coach them. They'll have access to me coaching them on call 24/7. I don't sleep a lot. I do, but I don't. So I've got, my client calls me at all hours of the night, and I'm always there. So yes, drugs don't stop. So once they get through that step and I start coaching them and stuff, we're going to work on their business. And that's when I've got a team that works on ads and podcasts and everything. So, and that's, we'll start working on that, get them their social media presence bigger and grow, and start bringing new clients in and stuff like that. So that's my dream, and it's not necessarily in that order and fashion, but that's what it is. And I know it'll work. I just got to get it out there, and I'm trying to. It's a brand new. It's in a new process right now. It's in a new. It's a new stage, so I'm trying to work out all the kinks to where I can get it out there, because I know once I get it out there, it's going to take off. And even if I reach 1 or 2 people, man, it's worth it to me. So, yeah.
Have you reconciled with your family since you've been sober the past few years?
My mother, me and my mother we argue all the time. Yeah. My stepfather is the one that bought me the house, and my mother, I'm at my mother's all day. I've got to keep her house. And it's crazy because I've stolen from both of my parents, and I've got a key to both of their houses. Like, they trust me that much. And I take my kids now for I've had them for a week, she wants me to bring them back because she misses them, but I'm able to pick my kids up anytime I need to and take them to my house, and it's not a problem. And there's still always that doubt, and there's always that doubt in family members' heads that because of my behavioral change, everybody's got problems every once in a while. Life's not perfect, and you're gonna have days where you're not yourself. So every once in a while, my mom stays on me. She's like, "You doing good? Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So there's always that in the back of the head where because that's what I did. I would get sober for a while, for about a month at a time, and then I'd go back to it, and then I jump back, and it's what happened for 26 years. So 3 years is not that long of a time to be sober, really. I mean, it is, but when you're looking at a span of my 26 years of destruction that I caused, my granddad, which was my hero, died. I was a drug addict when he died, and I know he's up there looking at me now, thinking, I wish he'd have seen me now, but I can't change that part. But like I said, my grandparents died when I was a drug addict when they died, and that's one of my biggest regrets, that they didn't get to see me become what I am and become what I'm fixing to become, because people don't understand what the faith and the drive and I don't have any doubt that I'm going to be successful. I don't allow myself to have successful. You see that picture on the wall. It's not a picture. It's a writing on the wall. I've got those all through my house. I don't watch TV. I watch motivational speakers. This is the first time I've sat down in probably 3 years, other than me driving my vehicle or going to sleep. I don't sit down. I walk all day long, pace all day long. I'm constantly moving. This is the first time I sat down because I wanted to sit down for this. I didn't want to stand up, but I just keep moving, and I stay focused, and I keep moving, and I implement those things that I created. I didn't create them. They were always there. I just implemented them and changed them a little bit. But yeah, my family loves, they're starting to have a lot of faith in me. My kids are my inspiration, man. My son's every day, he'll call me, "Daddy, you're a millionaire yet?" I'm like, "Not yet, buddy. I'm getting there, but not yet." So, yeah, it's a work in progress, but yeah.
Are you active in your church and doing any ministry work there?
Well, it's crazy because I'm active in the church. I don't do a lot of ministry work because I was working 60 hours a week, and I go to church all the time. Not every Sunday, because I do a lot of church here, and I just got to this point, and it's crazy you brought that up, because I got to this point to where I know I'm not putting churches down, but one of my favorite books of the Bible is John, and then my favorite book of the Bible was John, Psalms 23. I memorized that chapter, but my favorite book in John is the last chapter, and Jesus asked Peter 3 times if he loves him, and every time Peter responds, "Yes, Lord, I love you," and Jesus replies, "Feed my sheep," and he says this 3 times. So me and my kids started this thing Sunday where we go out, and instead of going to church, which I'm not saying I'll never step foot in a church again, because I will, but we go out and we take pamphlets, and like we write on paper or whatever, and we take pamphlets from our church and we hand them out to other people. So we went to Walmart last week, and we had probably 20 cards, and we hand them out to other people and spread the gospel and spread the word, because I think that's what God wants us to do. I don't think we sit in church and we come and we lock ourselves into this church, and like I said, I'm not putting down church at all, but we've got to get to the point to where we go out and reach other people, because like I said, this world's becoming wickeder and wickeder by the moment. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to know God. And there's people that don't want to take the card, but most of them are friendly and they do. But like I said, there's some of them you can just tell that they don't want nothing to do with church. And I've had a couple of them laugh at me, which that doesn't bother me. I'm not one of them people that worry about me. Look at my haircut. I don't care what people think about me at all. So I don't. That doesn't bother me. My kids are. I'm trying to teach my kids to do that, preach to God, and it's crazy because my daughter's really cares. She's really got that thing where she don't want. She's at that stage, and she's 11 years old. She don't want anybody thinking negative of her, so she really is scared to do that. She's scared to step out of her comfort zone. And she handed a card out. So she stepped out of her comfort zone and gave a card out. And I was so proud of her because that was not like her. But I'm trying to get them to talk to other people about Christ because they're saved themselves. And I'm grateful for that because, and like, I think all kids go to heaven anyway. I don't think there's, that's another situation, but they are saved. And I want them to tell other people about God and Christ. So, yeah, that's what we do on Sundays now. But I do go to church. I'm trying to do this new thing with them, trying to get them more experience and stuff, and trying to teach them about the gospel and spreading the gospel. So,
well, thanks for coming on today. Where can people reach you if they want to reach out to you?
They can go to depends on what account. I don't have a problem with people calling me straight up. So if they want to contact me, it's 270-820-1431. I've got a Facebook that's got my, I'm trying to pull it up real quick to show you the page. I've got several Facebooks, but my new Facebook is, it's my name, James, and it's got my, it's got my, that's the picture of my Facebook. If you can see that, I'm trying to tilt it right. Mm-hmm. And then my website is www.savagesocial.net, and that's my website. It's not perfectly set up yet. It's a new stage, so it's got enough information if you want to get a hold of me to go www.savagesocial.net, and you can get a hold of me that way. Put in your information, and it'll go straight to my email. And then if you want to friend me on Facebook, TikTok, it's JAW1234321. I have a lot of outreach on there. And so just look me up on Facebook, contact me, go to my website, either way. But I don't care either way. When people want to get a hold of me, they can. I would love for my business to get out there, and I need new clients. So anything would help. Everything would help. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on today.
No problem, man.
I spent several years of my life stressed, anxious, and depressed. I needed to find something that would make my life work. For me, that was meditation. With meditation, I found the peace of mind that I was looking for. I found the happiness, and I found a way to improve every area of my life, my emotional life, my spiritual life, my relationships. I was able to discover things about myself. I can give you the tools to meditate. I will walk you through the process and hold your hand. Whether you're a beginner to meditation who's never meditated, or whether you're someone who's tried meditation and it just never seemed to work, we can make it work. Meditation is something that everyone can do, and I can show you how. Check out my course on meditation.